The last time we learned that O at the end of a word says O. It's a really nice reading hack. Whenever you see O at the end, you automatically know it's going to say O all of the time, 100% of the time. OE will also say O. OE only comes at the end of short words like do, toe. I think of one where it doesn't say that, but most of the time OE will say O. So let's go over these. Number one, I'll say them 2 times. If you want to say it with me the second time, make sure that you look at the word as you read it. One is groplo, groplo. Number 2, dro, dro. 3, shafro, shafro. That O, the first O is going to say ah because there's 2 consonants after it. This one's going to say O, shafro. Make sure you grab those R's. 4, chasto, chasto. This one might have been a little tricky because TO by itself says 2. So it might have been tempting to say chastu, but O at the end of a word, multisyllable word, says O, chasto. 5 is fro, fro. 6, show ta flow, show ta flow. 7, Toronto, Toronto. 8, plom profo, plom profo. Let me say that one again. It's the L and the R that are the tricky part. I'm going to highlight those. So there's an L here, there's an R here, and there's nothing here where an L is going to want to sneak in, but you can't let it. Plom profo, plom profo. Number low ponsto, low ponsto. And number 10 is stro, stro. Do we have any first timers here? Will you put in the chat if today is your first time? Hey, Ron, welcome. Okay, so I won't go super fast then. I will make sure that I will slow down because if there's somebody here for the first time, I want them to feel just as set up for success as everybody else. Okay, so this week's rule is the O is going to make the schwa sound. But first, let's do our phonemic awareness warm-up. So, looking at this picture, this first one, let's start not super hard. Let's start with how many, glad you're back, John V. Let's start with how many sounds in letters. Letters. Put it in the chat. How many sounds? Good. When you stretch out those sounds, letters, there's 5 sounds in there. O, E, Z. So the double T, if you know how to spell it, that double T, of course, is going to make one sound. ER. When you see ER in a word, it's going to make one sound. ER is going to say almost all the time. I can't think of a time when it won't. As in her, mother, teacher, painter. ER usually comes at the end, sometimes in the middle, as in this one. Actually, letter is the base word, so ER would come at the end, and it makes one sound, So far we have 4 sounds, even though there's a lot more letters in that word. The S is making its voiced sound. S has 2 sounds. It can say S, it's voiceless sound, only air, or I can say Z, it's voiced sound. And it will make the sound, the sound that it will make depends on the letter before it. If the letter before it is voiced, meaning if you hear it, if your vocal cords are used, then the S is going to sound like a Z. Z, your vocal cords are used. If the letter before it is voiceless, like an F, it's going to say its voiceless sound, like cliffs versus letters. Does that make sense? It has two sounds, so don't be surprised if it makes its voiced sound sometimes. Now let's kind of challenge ourselves a little bit. How many sounds in alphabet? Alphabet. Take your time on this one. I know this one's a hard one. I knew it was going to be a challenge, so no worries. Alphabet has A, U, F, A, B, E, T. There's going to be 7, so count them with me. You're all muted, so you can say the sounds with me. Make sure that there's a nice, clean break in between each sound. A, U, F, A, B, E, T. Alphabet has 7 sounds. The PH means it's a Greek word. Any word that has a PH in it, the PH is going to make its F sound, and that means we borrowed it from the Greek language. Okay, move to the next one. Purse. How many sounds in purse? I have to think about this one myself. It seems like it's easy, but it's not, because many of us know how to spell it, and so those letters might trip you up a little bit when you think about how many sounds are actually in it. Yes, I know, question marks. I had a question mark myself on this one. There are 3 sounds in purse, I think. Let's do it together. Purse. 3 sounds. The P is making 1 sound. The UR, which we're going to learn next month, says and then the SE is saying it's, darn it, it just broke the rule that I just told you. The rule that I just told you is most of the time, but the SE is making 1 sound. Purse. Purse. 3 sounds in purse. UR is confusing. So UR, IR, and ER all make the same sound. You can pretty much just disregard the U, the I, and the E. But we're going to talk about that all next month. Don't worry. Okay, we are on, I got a question. What sheet? The right one for today's date? Right? Okay, we're on the same lesson. So if you go into the module for today's date, you will see this lesson there and you will print it out. If you don't have it in front of you, don't worry, just look at the computer and you can follow mine. So the last picture is purple. How many sounds in purple? Nice. Okay, you guys are getting good at this now. Excellent. Oh, you're making my heart happy when everybody gets it right. So purple has 4 sounds. Purple. Purple. UR makes 1 sound. Purple. What's happening at the end is there's a consonant LE syllable. Purple has 4 sounds. Okay, so you're all adults and some teenagers in here, mature teenagers. The reason I put these in here is because I know they're going to be a challenge. I expect them to not be easy. If it was easy, they would do us no good. So if you had a hard time with those, It's okay. They're supposed to be hard. The more we do it, the more your brain will wrap itself around each individual phoneme within a word. And the more you're able to isolate each sound, the easier reading will become, because then each grapheme in the word will have a job. So don't worry if this was hard. It's supposed to be hard, but the more we do it, it's just like working out, right? If you don't stretch, you won't get stronger. The more we do it, the better, easier it will become. Okay, so today's going to be a little bit of a brain buster for our new rule. Introduced it last week just briefly, so it wouldn't be such of a brain overload today, so it would sound a little bit familiar. So here's the rule. When O comes almost to the end of a multi-syllable word. So far we have O. When O comes almost to the end of a multi-syllable word. 3 things to remember so far. So when O is almost to the end of a longer word, there's going to be a consonant or 2 or 3 at the end. So it's not the final O, but almost to the O, almost to the end. It's going to say It's going to change to the schwa sound. Hang on one second. Let me just read what I have in the chat. Okay, Vanessa, thank you. I'm going to keep an eye on that. So the rule is when O comes almost to the end of a longer word, it's going to say, it's going to make the schwa sound. The schwa sound is the same as the short U sound. It just you drop your jaw into a really lazy sound so you're using no muscles. Your tongue is completely relaxed. You're not using your jaw or your tongue. It's just and it's kind of a disappearing sound. It's really hard to hear sometimes because it gets absorbed into the letters around it. So let's go over this. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to mark our vowels first, because if you can read the vowels, you can read the word. So I'm going to circle all my vowels in number 1. Now here is our O that's almost to the end. When O is almost to the end of a longer word, it's going to make the schwa sound and that schwa sound is marked by an upside down E. We're going to tap 2 on this first O to find out if it's going to make its long sound or its short sound. The next 2 letters, 1, 2, yes, there's a vowel there. So yes, it will say its name, O. Go to the next vowel, tap the next 2 letters, 1, 2. No, there's not a vowel there, so no, it's not going to say its name. It's going to say its regular short sound, ah. Now I'm going to pencil read this word. So we have 3 O's in this word. They're going to say 3 different things. The first one's going to say O. The second one's going to say ah, with that jaw really dropped. Ah, like intentionally dropped, not just a lazy drop. Ah. And the third O is going to say that lazy schwa sound, When we pencil read it, it sounds like this. B, O, O, D, A, P, M. I'm going to go one sound at a time. Bull, blow, blowed, blowed off, blowed up, blowed up, blowed up, blowed up, blowed up. Okay, try yours. You go ahead and mark your vowels, and I'll be quiet. Okay, when we pencil read this word, it's D, R, O, A, M. So that tells our brain that we know every sound in this word. We know why those three O's are going to say three different things. This first O is going to say O because one of the next two letters is a vowel. The second O is going to say ah because one of those next two letters is not a vowel. And this O is going to say it's schwa sound because it's almost to the end of a longer word. So when we pencil read it, we have der, dro. I almost said the wrong thing. Drot, drota, drotos, drotofa, drotothum, drotothum. Now that was a doozy. Will you put in the chat how that one was? Was it hard? Was it okay? Chat, give me one word how that one worked. Not bad. It's hard, yeah. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of, oh, it was okay. It was not easy. Okay, that's good. That's where we want to be. We don't want things to be too easy because then this class would not be worth your time. I'm going to stretch my paper out a little bit more. And let's do my number 2. I'm going to mark my vowels. Okay, I'm going to just tell you another sneak peek, another little reading hack about this O. Whenever there's an R after it, it's going to say O, as in or for, or corn. Okay, that's just a little extra reading hack. So here's a O, here's one. I know that this one's going to make the schwa sound because it's almost to the end of a longer word. This one's going to make its long sound because there is one vowel, one or two doors down. This one's going to make its short sound because there's not a vowel, one or two doors down. So here we have an O, an ah, and an When I pencil read it, I have O, ah, d, Orandum, orandum, orandum. Okay, you try your number 2. Okay, when we pencil read it, we have an O right here because there's a vowel 2 doors down. We have an ah right here because the next 2 letters are consonants. O almost to the end says So we have O, ah, s, t, O, pon, stum. Oponstum. You're going to see a lot of words in real life, fake life right now, that end with an OM or an ON. I'll show you some examples. Blossom, custom, symptom. Those all end with OM. You're going to see ON also. If you'll notice, these O's all say blossom, custom, kingdom, symptom. You hear that sound. That's why. That's what's happening. Because O almost to the end says It also happens with N, and usually you're going to hear it in that TION digraph. And I'm going to teach you about this in May, I believe. Yeah, in May. That TI actually says sh, and the O makes the schwa sound because TION is a suffix that comes at the end of words. Nation, station, emotion, election. You're going to see TION at the end of a lot of words. You guys see all those? And that is why T-I-O-N says shun. The T-I says shh. It's its own little digraph. And the O is almost to the end of a longer word. Election, emotion, station, nation. So now you know why that suffix says shun and why that O says Okay, let's do number 3. We run out of time. My vowels. Already know that this guy is going to make the schwa sound because he's almost to the end of a longer word. This guy is easy to see that he's going to make the short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants, and a double consonant makes it easier to notice that. This O is going to say O. Can I give you just one more little reading hack? I told you before that when O is followed by an R, it's going to say O. Same with when it's followed by an L. And we're going to learn those soon in the next week or 2, I believe. Okay. So when I pencil read this word, I have O, A, T, N, D. Olatund, olatund, olatund. Okay, so when we pencil read this word, we have O, A. This O is going to say O because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. This O is going to say A because the next 2 letters are consonants. So O, A, D. Now I'm getting some comments that this one's a little tricky, and I want to make sure that you are saying the correct sounds of all of the letters, because if you make those harder than they are, then the word is going to be harder than it should be. So I'm going to say the sounds, and I want you to say them right after me, just to make sure that you're not adding any extra sounds in there. O, A, D. Now when we blend it, we have Ormond. Ormond. Almond. That's not an easy one. That's a hard one. You're right. Okay, question in the chat. What is the difference from the short sound O and the schwa sound O? Like, how would you know? Excellent question. So the difference in the sound is the difference between a really dropped jaw and a lazily dropped jaw. The short O says ah, the schwa sound says How are you going to know when happens? The O is only going to change to the schwa sound for the most part if it's almost to the end of a longer word. The O is going to make it short sound if it's anywhere else in the word and the next 2 letters are consonants. So that's why this is Ormond. You're welcome. Okay, last one. Let me clear my board so it's not so messy. Okay, hopefully this one will be just a touch easier, but this is a hard lesson. This is probably one of the top 2 hardest lessons of the whole curriculum. So if you're hanging in there, you're doing amazing. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so this O is going to say ah. This O is going to say This O is going to say because the next 2 letters are consonants. This O is going to say change to the schwa sound because it's almost to the end of a longer word. When you pencil read it, it's Voiceless sounds, no voice, only air. S, p, ah, t, n. Spot-on. 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 Yes. I'm seeing somebody whose jaw is dropping exactly perfect. Nice deep jaw on the first one and nice lazy jaw on the second one. Okay, go ahead and do yours. Yeah, your guys are already getting fast at this, I can tell. So this first O is going to say O because there is a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. The second O is going to make it schwa sound up because it's almost to the end of a longer word. So when we pencil read it, we have, can you guys hear me or can you hear the hand dryer in the bathroom behind my office? You can hear me? Okay. Oh, oh, slow tongue, slow tongue, slow tongue. Now, your brain might be fried, but hopefully you saw a little bit of progress and you noticed a little bit of learning. Will you put in the chat how you're feeling after this lesson? This was not an easy lesson, so I want your honest answer. How are you feeling? The brain has been exercised, exhausted. O is a challenge, but that's okay. We have a lot of weeks, a lot of sessions to work on O. Okay, so if I'm gonna, class is over. I have a couple minutes for questions, but when I send you off on your own, if you're in the vibe right now and you still have some energy in you, go ahead and try these ones all on your own. When I come back next time, we'll do them together. But for now, does anybody have a question? Now is the time to unmute yourself or put it in the chat.